Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks so much for stopping in. So just going to do a little update today for you for my reading for this past week. It's going to be I usually do it on Saturdays, but we just got back into town yesterday, so today is Sunday, so I'm doing it today. I think I mentioned in my last little wrap up that I was heading out of town, so we went to see my in-laws this past week for the Thanksgiving holiday. And it's been a while since we'd seen them, so that was a nice visit. But it's always nice to come home too. So, for me, it was kind of like a little vacation. So I got some reading time in for sure. And so let's chat about what all I got into last week, because I read quite a bit actually, and it was really nice. So yeah, if you do celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a good one with your family and friends and all that good stuff. So, all right, yeah, let's move on. So I finally started Their Vicious Darling by Nikki St. Crowe. This is the third book of this dark Peter Pan retelling that I've been reading. And yeah, I loved it. So this is definitely a dark romance. It's very smutty and dark, but I love this sort of land that Nikki St. Crowe has created here. Taking the lore of Peter Pan, the story that we all know and love, and twisting it around in such an interesting way with the characters, and this fight between the islands of shadow. This whole talk about shadows. I'm getting shadows that can gives people power and things like that, and the sort of story of the darlings themselves, like Wendy and her subsequent sort of family members that come after her, who we're on like the third or fourth darling now, and fairies, the pirates, all of that. I just love it. Even the crocodile is really twisted into like a shapeshifter kind of character, and it's so super interesting, and it's damn sexy, and I just love it. I'm in love with the series. It's a ton of fun. So yeah, and I think there's more coming. So yay! I'm so excited. Like Tinkerbell. I mean, yeah. It's good. All right, and then I read just a quick little story. It's called Jack by Layla Fae. It was one I was wanting to get into in October, but reading slump from hell in October. So I said, what? Let me just read this here. Everyone goes to bed early except me, so I stay up late, and so I was reading books, and so this was a crazy little story. Our main character, this lady who, she's a witchy vibe. She does like tarot readings for people and stuff like that, and she has summoned this sort of entity named Jack. You see, he's got a pumpkin, like jack-o'-lantern head, and he's somewhat, I don't say it's demonic necessarily, but he's a creature. He's a creature in a way. And they get it on and whatever, and it was okay. This one was okay. It was a little weird, and but it's short. It's short and sweet. So, but it was okay. She has a Christmassy one with Satan, so I may give that one a go in December. Maybe, I don't know. I finished this one. I finished Slewfoot by Brom. I absolutely loved this book. Oh my god, I love this book. I devoured it. I could not stop reading it. It's so good. Everything that people have said about this was true. I loved it. So we're set in sort of mid-1600s in a Puritan society and sort of New England area here in the U.S. As if you know anything about that time period, of course, pretty strict pretty strict for everyone, really. Very religious, kind of domineering. The sort of preachers were the were basically the end all be all of everything here, right? They determined rules and regulations and all that good stuff. So women especially had to live a certain way, covering their hair and be seen and not heard, all that kind of good stuff, right? And so our main character was not born into this type of society. She was born actually in Europe, and her father basically sold her off to this man to get married, and so she was brought over, and her name's Abatha, and she was brought over, and so she's married to Edward, and they're working on his little farm and all that good stuff. And they seem to get along pretty okay, though. They're kind of sweet little couple, actually. But Abatha, like I said, she wasn't born into this type of society, and so she's got a bit of a learning curve here. She definitely is one to kind of speak her mind a little bit, and sometimes, is, very much out of place. And she does actually have some skills that she's brought with her from her generations and generations of women before her, of little healing salves and herbs and that kind of knowledge. So I think you see where this is going. One thing leads to another, and poor Abatha is thought to be a witch, right? And maybe she also makes this connection to something in the forest out near her farm, and maybe there is something more out there. And oh my god, it was just so good. So definitely, a historical type of story. I'd say horror, horror tinge, definitely like witchy vibes, folk horror vibes, that kind of stuff. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's just so good. I don't even know what else to say about it, because you just need to read it. It's so good. 5 stars for me. I loved it. And this is the first time I've read Brom. I've got, I think, The Child Thief on my shelf. I've had for years. I don't know why I haven't read it yet. So now I really want to get into that one because it's on my shelf. I think that's a Peter Pan type of retelling, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Slewfoot. So good. Go read it if you haven't read it yet. It was really good. Alright, so I went to get a book from the library, some books from the library for my son, and while I was there I just saw this one, so I grabbed it and I brought it with me, and I went ahead and read it. It's Black Paradise by Junji Ito. Of course, this was a manga translated from the Japanese. Let me find it. Dun, dun, dun. Oops. Where is it? Anyway, I really enjoyed this one. Here's some information. Here we go. Translated, okay, yeah. Translated by Jocelyn Allen. All right. I like to at least mention the translator. Okay, so this was pretty fun, actually. Fun for Junji Ito, right? But so these group of 4 people in the very beginning, they meet up. They don't know each other. They kind of met anonymously. They all are planning to go, kill themselves, basically. So they are going to do it together. I don't know. It's a thing, I guess. I don't know. And so as they're on their way out there, and they're going to this forest to go handle business, and some things happen. There's like doppelgangers that get involved. Portals to like other worlds. It gets weird. It's classic Junji Ito style, I would say, and I really liked this a lot, actually. The characters are pretty interesting. I like this twist that kind of happens with like what is going on here. This like I said, this sort of realm into this kind of other world kind of thing. It was a lot of fun, super interesting, and definitely recommend it if you haven't gotten to it yet. And kind of a bleak ending, which I don't mind from time to time, right? So yeah, I always like his art style too. So yeah, this was a slightly older. I think it was from 2000. 9, so a bit slightly older for one of his books, but yeah, I liked it. So yeah. What else did I read? Oh, I read this one I saved for Thanksgiving Day. I thought it was quite appropriate. The Turkey Who Ate My Father. The Turkey That Ate My Father. Excuse me. This is by Dean Marney. This is one of these old kind of Apple paperbacks, and it was silly, but it was thematic for the day in particular, of course. And basically, we got this family, you know, mom, dad, and 2 kids, and the mom has actually gone like back to school, so she's like really busy and asking for help from the family. And so, you know, Thanksgiving's coming, and so the dad and the kids are kind of, you know, trying to help out and help get Thanksgiving situated and all that good stuff. And so the little boy orders this turkey decoration, essentially, and it comes in the mail, and it like starts like growing and growing and growing and growing, and swallows people. It takes them to this other sort of world. It looks like this dungeon almost, and they try to get out. I mean, it's a silly book, right? But you know, it was fun to read. The main character, who was the little girl here, was really annoying though, and so she kind of definitely brought that book down for me personally. Like she was just one of those complaining types, you know, like life isn't fair kind of, and it just grated on you by the end of the book, you know. But it was, you know, I read it, I'm never going to read it again, it's fine, you know. But there are others in this book, in this series: the jack-o'-lantern that ate my brother, the Christmas tree that ate my mother, computer ate my brother, trouble with Jake Stubbles, dirty socks don't win game. Well, there's a couple, I guess, Christmas or holiday ones. Anyway, it was fine. is the takeaway from that. It was fine. But then I read this one, To Offer Her Pleasure by Seay. I've had this one on my shelf for a little while. I bought 2 of Allie's books right from her website. Sometimes she has things in stock and she'll sign them and send them your way. So I did that, you know, I don't know, earlier this year, I think I've had these for a little while. And I loved this one too. I loved this book. It's short, but I flew through it. I ate it up. It was this is so good. So the gist of it, we're following sort of a young kid. He's a teenager, you know, he's like 15, 16, I think 16-ish, I think. And his dad has passed away, and so he's just living with his mom, who seems to be really struggling with this, and has kind of taken in this new boyfriend, and they just kind of drink, and you know, it's not a good situation. But you know, what are you gonna do? That's where he lives, right? So the mom ends up just kind of taking off and leaving him there by himself, and he, you know, he's sad that his dad's gone. Not so sad that his mom gone, but he's by himself, and so he spends some time in the basement a lot, which is where like a lot of his dad's things are, his old books and you know, that kind of things. And as he's kind of going down there and kind of spending some time with his dad's things, he finds this book tucked away in the back of the shelf. Usually never a good thing, right? But well, something is what should I say? Something is alive in this book, and needs to be fed. How about I said? And in exchange for something. I'm not gonna say too much, but so this kid gets kind of wrapped up with this entity that is in this book, and the story goes from there, and it's just so good. I tell you, it was so well written. I loved the characters. I loved the darkness in here. There was darkness and stemming from this sort of, like I said, this entity that lives in this book. Of course, it's dealing with grief. I thought I dealt with grief in a very real way. You know, showing how different people deal with it. You know, the mom, even though we may judge her for, you know, turning to drink and everything, that's just how some people handle that kind of thing. They may come out of it, you know, at some point, but anyway. So man, I just loved this. I loved the heck out of this. 5 stars from me. Amazing cover, also. And this is part of my. If you remember, I was doing the Indie Accords, choose your own path, and I was on the dark path. So I've got a couple more books I need to read for that by the end of the year. But this is a check off for that. But gosh, yeah, I love this. If you haven't read any Seay, I mean, I'm impressed by this first book. So I have another one, her other book, Go Down Hard, and I'm going to definitely be diving into that soon. So I loved it, guys. I loved it. Definitely some what would I say? Sort of occultish, witchy vibes. Maybe a little folk horror type vibes. Again, dealing with grief, that kind of thing. So, being a teenager, good stuff. Kind of a coming of age type of story too. I loved it. So, yay! And then, last but not least, I finally finished Insomnia by Stephen King. She's chunky. She a chunky one. Almost 800 pages. And this was a problem. It didn't need to be this long. This book was too long, in my opinion. It's very meandering of a story, and at times I was like, what is the point? What is the point of this whole chapter or whatever? There are parts about this I really enjoyed, and there are parts that just really brought this down for me. So it was kind of a bummer. I ended up just kind of middle of the road. It was fine, kind of a book, right, for me. But so we're following a kind of an older man. I think he's like in his 70s, and his name's Ralph. And I was like, the name Ralph. And right in the beginning of the book, his wife has passed away, so we're dealing with grief again in this story, which is done really well, I think. And but soon after she passes away, Ralph develops insomnia and has trouble sleeping and things like that, and it sort of leads to him sort of seeing things and all that kind of stuff. It opens up a whole other thing, right? And that part of the story, that part of this book, I enjoyed all of that part. This delving into this insomnia, leading into where it goes into, which I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil it, because that part is good. The book, super interesting. What King did that with that too. So yeah, that I liked. But then there's this whole there's a romance sub story where Ralph, falls for another lady, and it was fine, but sometimes it was a little much, like, okay, there's this whole side story of this super, well-known, like, feminist woman who is coming to, and this does take place in Derry, who's coming to Derry to do, like, this big sort of, talk, and there's a lot of conversation around abortion in here, which really got overbearing. And it was too much. It was way too much. It was too much. That really brought the story down for me, because it's like, okay, we get it. I don't know. It was just, like I said, I liked a lot of this. I liked some of this stuff. I didn't like some of the stuff, so it ended up just very middle of the road for me. It was too long, but again, some of this I enjoyed, so I don't know. If you're reading through Stephen King, you're going to read it at some point. There are some Dark Tower references in here that I was able to catch, even though I haven't finished the Dark Tower series. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. And that's it. So I read a lot this past week, so I'm pretty excited. Excuse me, a little frog in my throat. So I'm really excited. So I've got a few days left here of November, so I do still need to finish poking holes. I've got, I think, just a couple more stories to finish of that. I forgot to take the book with me, so I didn't get to read it while I was out of town, but I'll finish those up, maybe even today. I do still have Web of Dreams to dig into, the V.C. Andrews book. I will try to get that audio done, this week sometime. I should be able to knock that out pretty quickly. I do want to start The Nightmare Room by Chris Sorensen. Nightmare Room. Yeah, Nightmare Room, I think. That's, again, part of my Indie Accords thing that I was doing, so I want to mark that one off the list. And then it'll be December, so we'll have Christmas Evil starting, and I'm so excited. I'm so jazzed for this readathon. We've gotten such good response to it, so people joining in with us. So, oh my gosh, we're so excited. So, yeah. So I think that's kind of it. So I hope that you're doing well, and thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next one, guys.